So welcome back everybody to Forza Horizon 4. Today we're doing another seasonal championship in the form of Ice Rally, which is basically modern rally vehicles. And yeah, once again we're getting there in the luxury boat that is the Bentley, which isn't particularly well suited to off-roading in stock form. But yeah, the modern rally cars will be suited to going off-road with their all-wheel drive and their rally potentials. So yeah, let's see which ones we get to choose from.
So, even though it's freezing out there, we've still got loads of people braving the weather to watch this seasonal. I don't suppose that has anything to do with you, does it?
Right, so we've got the Ford Focus RS, we've got a bunch of Mitsubishis, we've got the 10, and those ones I'm rubbish with Roman numerals, so I apologise. Then we've got the 3, 4, 5 Subarus to choose from. So yeah, I'm going to start off with one of my, we'll go with a Ford I think, because I don't think we've chosen that before. And then we'll choose a Mitsubishi and then a Subaru to choose from. So let's start off with a Ford. Now obviously this isn't all-wheel drive like the others, but it is front-wheel drive with a pretty clever diff for the time on it, to keep the power and any torque steer in check, while obviously being a rally car in its own right at one point or another. Though obviously the rally version would be dramatically different to this one in terms of power and setup. Yeah, this was still the fastest hot hatch that Ford had done at the time, and even by today's standards it's no slouch. But yeah, we're going to have to see what it's going to be like against these cars. Obviously I don't have the launch of the all-wheel drive vehicles off the line, but I am undoubtedly going to be lighter. Only having front-wheel drive should hopefully make me a little bit more nimble. And at the end of the day we still have more than 200 horsepower on the go, which is not bad. I don't think I've actually reviewed this Ford before, so if I haven't, then I'll probably do so at some point. Still got a long list of vehicles to review on this game, and even Forza Motorsport 7. Though inevitably, if I don't get around to them before the next Forza Motorsport game comes out, I will review them if they're on the new Forza game on that one. But yeah, still got a long list of cars to review. Would be helpful if we had a car list to be revealed at some point, and then I could prioritise the ones that aren't going to be in the new game and do them before the new one comes out. But I have no idea even when the new game is going to come out, whether or not it's going to be launched the same day as the new console, which would fit in with some of the Forza games being released around October, November time, or if we're going to be waiting until at least early next year. I hope not, because I am desperate for a new Forza game. I've been crying out for some new tracks, new cars to drive around with, especially since we're screwing up with this Ford at the moment. Yeah, I did not get the best launch off of that ramp there. Let's get the angle a little bit more towards the left. Much better. No point doing a big jump like that if you're just going to go off a cliff. Subaru's definitely got more power than we have, and as you can see, more acceleration. We're holding our own. Certainly been in a worse position than second place in a first race of a championship before. performing a lot better than I imagined it would, considering it's a little bit down on power and drivetrain than the other cars, and we've just managed to squeeze the first place position ahead of the Subaru, which was really not all that far behind us. As you can see, it was less than 0.3 of a second behind us, so yeah, that was incredibly close, but we managed it, and I think we even got the fastest lap time as well. So yeah, good on that Ford, despite again also not just being nowhere near as good in terms of power or drivetrain, but also in terms of age. As you can see, we're easily the oldest car there. But nonetheless, let's get on to the second race. Right, so with the Ford being surprisingly effective there, despite, as you can see, only having 212 horsepower and only front wheel drive, let's see what a Evo can do. Now we've got a choice between obviously a few different versions, different power outputs for this and this one, and obviously this and this one, but the 2004 and 2008 one has the same power and torque, though the older version is less in weight. But on the whole, I prefer this version, and it's the one I most like to drive, just because I think it's a good balance in terms of its power and in terms of its weight, as well as handling as well. So yeah, let's see what this one can do. I actually have an upgraded version of this to the version, if you ever saw the Top Gear episode where Clarkson had one of these racing around against the army. I actually have an upgraded version to the 500 horsepower spec that car was at, which is pretty fun to drive around online. Though here we're sticking with the standard version. But again, it's these kind of Evos that really play into my whole idea of having a options list for cars on these games. Because yeah, this is the least powerful version of the car I think at the time, but obviously there were several different versions of this generation of Evo. You could get well more than 300 horsepower out of these, and yet generally we only ever had Evos that are around the 300 mark, rather than say with the 10 for instance having upwards of nearly 400. And I think even the version that's on this game before this, the 2004 one, could have like 380 horsepower or whatever. So yeah, it's a bit of a shame that we don't get the more powerful Evos on these games, or don't even get the choice to choose from those versions. That's why I'll constantly rave and advocate for an options list car list on these games, just because it would be far more interesting and yeah, give a far bigger variety to the cars on the game. Obviously I wouldn't expect every option to be available for cars, but you know, just in terms of body styles, some engines, different engines, power or petrol or diesel versions, and yeah, I just think that would mix things up a lot better and than just having, you know, different cars. Because you can have 700, 800 cars and there will be some similarities between certain ones of them. But if you have 700, 800 cars that all have different options for engines, body styles and the like, then, you know, you'd have effectively even more cars to choose from. No, not obviously every car has options for them. Some cars have just one engine and just one body style, but cars like this that have varying power levels, and then, you know, you have your saloon cars that are also estates or coupes, and obviously you have different engines that in terms of power delivery and whether they have turbochargers or not, whether they're diesel or petrol or hybrid. I just think it would throw up a lot more interesting options and a lot more interesting races as well. But that's just me blabbing, because this race is actually taking a while. It's quite a long circuit and there's a lot of hills, and this car does not like hills, it seems. Probably because of the turbocharger, and you need to pretty much be in the right revs at the right time, in the right gear to get the most out of this car. Steep sections like this do not help. I mean, that Subaru's lost its spoiler by the looks of things. Yeah, they have damage on, I don't. Well, cosmetic damage anyway. Just never seen the point in cosmetic damage, and when you're in an open world game, never seen the point of, you know, simulated damage either, so yeah. Long ago I decided never to have any damage on these open world games. So I think fuel is... oh no, fuel isn't calculated on these games either. Oh, I was too busy looking at the speedo to check if there's a fuel gauge. Yeah, we don't have fuel on these. Again, that would probably be a bit pointless as well. Considering it's an open world game, you'd eventually run out. There's nowhere to fill up at. Come on. Now that you hit a brick wall before coming up this hill, those walls always slow you down quite a fair bit, and I'm not helping myself by hitting a wall either. Again, too busy trying to keep the speed up. Damn, they came out of nowhere. Nearly crushed me under their wheels there. Out the way. Come on, reel him in. Oh, that was very close. All three of us were within a car length of one another. But yeah, gonna have to settle for third there, but as you can see there's not even 0.2 of a second between me and first. And even less time between me and second, but yeah. I have to settle for third place there, so yeah, we're gonna have to try and beat that car and, well, come first overall regardless. Otherwise, I doubt we'd win the championship. But yeah, let's get on to the third and final race. Right, so that Lancer there didn't work out quite as well, unfortunately, but I think it's just a case of the track really rather being difficult for a automatic driving guy like me. But so yeah, let's get in a Subaru that I do not like all that much, and that's the 2008 version. Not because it's not got all that much in the way of power, because it pretty much does. It's actually got the second best kind of horsepower to torque, you know, comparison, as some of them have the same horsepower but less torque, but it also weighs the most as well, unfortunately. But I think the torque will prove to be advantageous, and in terms of handling it's pretty much one of the better ones. So yeah, despite the fact that I hate the look of it, let's see what it can do. It's easily the ugliest Subaru Impreza that they've done. Certainly far uglier than the same year Evo 10. But let's see if it can excel on this course, which I think is primarily tarmac based this time. So we've gradually worked our way up in terms of horsepower with these cars. This being the most powerful car that we've used on this seasonal championship. So let's see if all that power makes a difference. No idea why they decided to go for a hatchback variant for this version of the Impreza. It's not like that kind of you know, body shape lasted. It was only for this generation, and they immediately ditched it for the next one. So yeah, no idea why they decided for that. But it's at least doing okay here. It's only really this bit that is off-road. Vast majority of this course is on-road. Turning a little too soon there. Nice little drift. Not particularly the fastest way of getting into a corner, but certainly a more fun way. Big drawback with doing these kind of races and being in first is that you are taking out all of the road furniture and therefore slowing yourself down. But I guess that's a good way of mediating between who's in first and who's behind. Kind of a crude catch-up system, I guess you could say. Far too much speed into that corner, but luckily we are getting a sizable distance between us and whoever's behind us. Come on, once again these hills do not do much in the way of favours for these kind of cars. Come on, let's end on a win. Well, they're not massively far behind, but yeah, that's a more convincing win than the first time round. And obviously it's a win over the second race, so yeah, there we go. 20 points, 54 points overall, 8 points ahead of second and 14 points ahead of third to get the win for the championship. And yeah, basically you do this championship to get the Ford Racing Puma, which if you haven't got already then is a cracking car, one of the best that has been added via the festival playlist. So yeah, if you haven't got the car already, then get out there and try this championship out. And even if you have got the car, then it's still a nice championship to go through, just to bump up your percentage for the festival playlist current season, or the festival playlist overall, just to get any of those percentage cars that you want. And yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.